Today, we're going to talk about 3 common yet pervasive problems that pregnant women and postpartum moms manage and deal with on a daily basis. We're also going to talk about some simple solutions to those problems. Simple solutions like pregnancy tea, lady-in-waiting tea, solutions like red raspberry leaf and alfalfa, and how these nutrient-dense herbs are really specific and supportive to the female reproductive system, and how these herbs can come and be a part of the solution to these problems that pregnant women and breastfeeding and postpartum moms are facing. If we haven't met yet, my name is Maria Chaudhry. I'm a licensed midwife, I'm a certified professional midwife and herbalist, and I'm the creator of Birth Song Botanicals. And I'm here today to really talk about these problems that our community, our birth community, and community of mothers are facing. And so we're filming this live right now on the Facebook page, on our business page, but we're also in the process of sharing it on our personal page and on a couple of groups. And so, yeah, now that we're all shared, I wanted to make sure we're here. And I want to welcome any of you that are here. I'm in front of the camera, and Heaven is behind the camera. And so I can't see the comments. I can't see if anybody's here. And so she's going to be the one that manages all that. And so if you hear my voice and then you hear somebody else's voice, that's Heaven. And so while I'm here talking and introducing and stuff, and she's going to chime in when you guys have questions. So in the beginning, we're going to meet each other and we're going to talk to each other. And then when it gets into the heart of it, the heart of the teaching, I'm going to focus on the teaching, and then I'll come back in and check about questions. So who's here today? Heaven, is anybody here?
Paula Hartgrave is
Paula
watching.
Hartgrave! Cheers! Yeah. She's a midwife and a really awesome woman in Little Rock. Yeah. Oh, and Paula Hartgrave, that's Paula Hartgrave. Paula Hartgrave is a woman here in Fayetteville, and she's a mom, and she's a brand ambassador, and she is having another baby, and she knows a lot about Birth Song Botanicals. Yay! Sorry, Paula, I got 2 Paulas mixed together. There's a lot of great ones out there. So if you can hear me, we're going to do this with the intention of this being live, and we're also doing this with the intention of being able to share it later, so it doesn't have to be live. And so, but if you can hear me, let's share some hearts and some smiles. And you can also put in the bar in the comment section where you're from. And then that'll be a great place to start the conversation. And so it seems like we're just going to start to dive right in, okay? And so I just want to remind you what our conversation is. We're talking about deep and pervasive problems that pregnant women and postpartum moms and breastfeeding moms are facing. And from my perspective, one of the most profound and pervasive problems that women face in general is this deep sense of fatigue, right? And so this deep sense of fatigue is really depleting. And I want to talk about fatigue and the depletion and like what contributes to it and how it's perpetuated and all these little problems that show up due to being overly exhausted for a long period of time. Time for a sip and a breath. So, I'm going to talk about generalizations. Everybody has their own unique story, so I can't clump you all into one conversation, but I am going to just talk about a generalization of when a woman first finds out she's pregnant. There are some women that have been preparing for this for a long time. They've been taking their supplements and drinking their teas and eating great, and they got a house and a car and a partner, and their life is rainbows and unicorns, and they're finally having that baby. And then there's a lot of us that are just suddenly find out we're pregnant, right? And so some of us that just suddenly found out that we were pregnant, sometimes our lifestyle when we were not pregnant isn't necessarily conducive to when you are pregnant. So when you suddenly find yourself pregnant, you have to make some decisions, right? You have to make some decisions, and you have all these emotions, and you might not be telling anyone, and you're keeping it a secret, and you have all this life change happening inside of you under the surface that no one else can see, and you're trying to hold all that together, and that right there is exhausting. Also, you might be coming from a perspective or from a lifestyle that maybe you stayed up really late, maybe drank a little too much, maybe you didn't eat all that great. And so you're already coming from a nutritional deficit from iron deficit or B vitamin deficit. And so then here she is, she's already tired. Maybe you already have a job that you're stressed and you're working really hard and you're up at night. And so you might not already be feeling at your top anyways. And then you become pregnant. And then all of a sudden you have these hormones, progesterone. And you have this really concentrated amount of progesterone. And so that's going to affect your mood. That's going to make you exhausted. That's going to make your blood sugar spike. It's going to make your blood sugar fall. It's going to make your need for rest to be paramount. And sometimes you're just so tired. You're just so tired that you just are like almost falling asleep while you're at work. Right? You're just so tired. And even when you're falling asleep, your body's working. And so sometimes even when you sleep, you wake up and you didn't even feel rested, right? There's this deep fatigue. And there's this growth, this cellular growth that's happening at a rapid rate. And so that's also just part of normal pregnancy. But then when you enter it from a depleted state, it's just so much harder. And then this next thing that can start to happen for some women is they start to feel nauseous. Right? So they have nausea and vomiting. And when you're nauseous and vomiting in the morning and in the night over and over and over, then it's really hard for you to get your game on and start to eat all this protein and iron-rich foods and eat all your calcium because you can barely eat anything, right? So that's going to lead to your fatigue. That's going to lead to your depletion. Also, I'm not going to talk so much about it in this video, but the next video I'll talk more about this, about when you're starting to become pregnant, your body is going to produce amniotic fluid, it's going to grow a baby, it's going to produce more blood. So that's called blood volume expansion. And so you're going to make 50 to 100% more blood. So your body is going to grow at such a rapid rate and produce so much more fluid, and you don't have the same iron levels that you need to, and so you're not going to have as much oxygen in your system, and so that's really fatiguing. And next week we'll talk a lot about iron. So we're already talking about a woman that's entering pregnancy that might not be nutrient deficient, or she might be nutrient deficient, she might have nausea, she might have vomiting, she certainly has concentration of hormones, she might already be stressed. And now we're also needing to talk about, she's starting to feel her body changing. Her body's changing, so she might have uterine cramps. She might have leg cramps. She might have just other overarching body pains, headaches. She might also start to feel, as her pregnancy progresses, just so tired that she's going through insomnia. And she can't sleep well at night because of the pain. And she might also be, because of the nausea and the vomiting, she might be starting to get dehydrated. And then when she's dehydrated, that perpetuates the cramps, that perpetuates the pain, that perpetuates the exhaustion, because dehydration is just another form of fatigue, because it just means depletion, right? And so what else I want to say about dehydration in particular, dehydration is the number one cause, it's the leading cause of preterm labor, because dehydration can lead to urinary tract infections, and those urinary tract infections can trigger preterm labor, right? So dehydration is a critical component of perpetuating to this deep sense of fatigue. And also, so here she is, that's just her pregnant self, she just is pregnant. And now here this woman is, she's made it through her pregnancy. Oh, another thing also, when she becomes dehydrated, she can also start to retain fluid, because her body's trying to retain fluid, so she can have a lot of edema, swellingness, and puffiness. But when she's really well hydrated, she might not have that edema. But so here we are, let's continue the story. And now here she is, she's about to go into labor. And so labor can be so different. Some women are going to have a fast labor. Some women are going to have a normal, slow, progressive labor. Some women are going to have a really long and drawn out labor. Either way, everyone's going to work for their baby. It's going to be exhausting in the end, right? It's hard to eat. It's hard to sleep. It's hard to drink. It's hard to get your nourishment met, but yet you're doing such a physically demanding event for your body that you need the deep nourishment, right? And if you already enter labor from a fatigued place, then it's really hard to progress and move through labor in a rate. What happens when women enter labor in a fatigue state, they tend to stall out. They have obstructed labor. It's really hard for them to get all the way through to the finish line, right? They can do it, but it's just a lot harder. Sometimes they need more assistance. And then let's go through this. Then after she gives birth, either she's going to push her baby out super fast, or she's going to push her baby out and it's going to take hours, or she's going to have a cesarean birth. But either way, that was a huge exertion of a lot of sweat and tears and vomit. And then when the baby comes, then the placenta is going to come. And your body's done all this blood volume expansion, right? However, in normal labor, the body's done the blood volume expansion and the body's going to give 2 cups of blood away with the placenta. 2 cups of blood is going to come out with the placenta. But now if there's a little bit of bleeding, and she's already fatigued, and she already had the long labor, and she already pushed for a long time, then not only is she tired, her uterus is tired, and then that perpetuates that she bleeds more. And then when she bleeds more, that perpetuates her deeper fatigue and her deeper depletion. Or even in a cesarean birth, it doesn't appear like you bleed very much postpartum, but they clean out your uterus, so they suck out a lot of the blood. So when the pregnant woman, she's now a postpartum mother, but she doesn't appear like she's bleeding very much. She doesn't see very much blood leave. But her body, she did lose quite a bit of blood, usually about 4 cups of blood. And so there's that. So there's that depletion. And then here you are. Now you need to recover from birth. You might have stitches. You might have had a surgery. You might have been in labor for a couple of days. Not to mention months of insomnia, swelling, backache, and headache, and morning sickness. And then here you are. You're going through your postpartum transition, so you're going to change more hormonally in the first 72 hours than you will in your entire pregnancy. And so you're going to go from progesterone and estrogen to prolactin and lactogen. All those hormones feel good, but it's a major hormonal shift, and that's going to help you produce breast milk, right? And so if you are already dehydrated, and then you went through your labor and didn't really eat or drink, and then very much, and then you pushed your placenta out and lost your amount of blood, and now you're going to nurse your baby, and you need to make enough breast milk, and you need to be well nourished and well hydrated to do that. So in order to be successful, we need to feed you, and we need to nourish and prepare you. So I'm going to take a deep breath and have a sip and see about questions. No? Okay. Yeah, so, pregnancy and birth, it can be really beautiful. I've also been a midwife and have attended hundreds and hundreds of births, so I know what it's like, what a well-nourished woman is like, and what her pregnancy is like, and her birth and her breastfeeding experience. And I also know what a depleted woman is like, and what their pregnancy, birth, and breastfeeding and postpartum experience is like. And I really want you all to be well-nourished, and I want you to be in optimal health. And so that's why we're having this conversation today. Okay, so we're going to talk about pregnancy tea, specifically lady-in-waiting tea, and then I really want to share with you a little bit of what I know and what I've experienced about red raspberry leaf and alfalfa. Okay, so I'm going to hold this. And I don't think you can see it in the camera. And when it gets closer to time, I'll try to come to you, but I'll describe it verbally. So I'm going to start with red raspberry leaf. Okay. So red raspberry leaf, when I pick it up, it's really fluffy. It's big leaves. You can tell that these big leaves have been torn up, and it's really fluffy. It almost seems like you could stuff it inside something and make a pillow out of it. And okay. And so she's telling me we're halfway. Woo! Wow, time flies. You got a lot to cover. Okay. So anyways, red raspberry leaf. Red raspberry leaf Oh my goodness. I still want to say one thing. You know, we as women and we as humans, we've been birthing our babies since the beginning of humanity. We've also been working with teas and drinking teas and herbal medicines since the beginning of humanity. And red raspberry leaf has really been one of those that has been universally respected throughout the centuries. It was actually first written about in a book written in the 1500s. So if you're writing about something 400 years ago, that means they were doing it hundreds of years before they even wrote it down. And so that's pretty amazing. So red raspberry leaf has been with us, it's been with women our entire existence as human and women. And so I really want you to celebrate it and start to drink it. Okay, so red raspberry leaf used to just be known as the supreme, which is a wonderful name, supreme herb for pregnancy. And it used to only kind of be thought of as a pregnancy herb. But red raspberry leaf is really a nourishing herb. It can be for everyone. But specifically, since we're talking to women, it thrives in pregnancy and birth and postpartum and breastfeeding. Also, it helps aid in menstrual smoothing and synchronizing a menstrual cycle, and helping a menstrual cycle so she doesn't cramp too hard and doesn't bleed too much. And then it also helps encourage fertility because it helps encourage uterine function, and then also through pregnancy. I want to talk more about that. So what red raspberry leaf does, like I said, it's a nutritive herb. And so it's going to tonify the uterus and the uterine muscles, but also not just the uterus, but the entire pelvic floor and the organs of the pelvis, and the entire female reproductive system. It is high and rich in many vitamins and minerals, particularly calcium, iron, magnesium, potassium. Also, it has this alkaloid called fragrine, and fragrin is specific. It's what makes it specific to the uterus, whereas those other minerals and that I just mentioned, that helps it be specific to feeding all sorts of smooth muscle. So smooth muscle means like your intestines and your heart. These are muscles that contract and relax, right? And so that's what your uterus does. Your uterus contracts and relaxes. And so when you're not pregnant, even every day when you're not pregnant, your uterus will go through a cycle of contraction and relaxation, right? So that's the optimal function of the uterus. When you're menstruating, you can feel it more contraction and then relaxation. That's how you have those cramps. And then when you're pregnant, you start to have all those Braxton Hicks and cramps. So you have the contraction and then the relaxation and the contraction. And then in labor, you really feel like contraction and relaxation. It's so strong, right? And then postpartum, after the placenta comes out, you still feel that contraction and relaxation. So red raspberry leaf is pretty amazing because it's not an adaptogen, but it has an adaptive quality where it can both simultaneously help your uterus be strong and hold tone, and then simultaneously be relaxed and be completely relaxed so it can expand the way it needs to expand. So it helps with uterine function. It also helps with heartbeat and heart rate. And so when you think about it, like, so your heart is beating involuntarily, your uterus is contracting involuntarily, and when you're pregnant, you have a baby inside you. You have 2 hearts to nourish. And well, if you had twins, you would have 3 hearts to nourish. And so that's pretty special. And so who else has a heart in your family? Oh, your whole family. So can your whole family drink red raspberry leaf tea? Absolutely, they can. I want to say another thing about red raspberry leaf, that it says something that's like an adaptive quality, is that it's incredibly nutritive, right? And so it's going to help give us all the vitamins and minerals we need, because your baby that's growing inside you needs the nourishment. To grow a healthy baby, you need protein, you need iron, and you need calcium. And if you're not supplying it via your food, via your diet, via your supplements, via your teas, the baby's going to take it from here. It's going to take it from your body. And so if it's going to take it from your body, then then you're going to be even more fatigued and even more depleted, and you can't do that. How are you going to continue if you're even more depleted than you are now? So red raspberry leaf is going to feed you and help you support and produce an ample milk supply when you're postpartum mom, but it also does this great thing that has this astringent and tannins, and so that means it helps dry up wet things. So it's not going to dry up your milk, but it's going to help you not bleed so much. It's going to help you not bleed so much postpartum. And so red raspberry leaf has been known to help with nausea, preterm labor, miscarriage, helps with leg pains, muscle cramps, uterine contractions. It helps with labor pains. It helps with keeping a labor going in a progressive manner. It helps with the complete expulsion of the placenta. It helps cramp down the uterus, and it helps minimize the bleeding afterwards, and it helps maintain the milk supply, which is pretty amazing. Heaven's telling me I need to hurry, and I said I was only going to do 30 minutes, but there's no way I can cover everything in 30 minutes, so I'm going to have to do it a little further than 30 minutes because I don't want to break my train of thought. Bear with me. Okay? So, I need to take a deep breath, have a sip of tea. The next herb I want to tell you about is alfalfa. Actually, before I do that, I want to say something. We're really talking about pregnancy tea today. That's the point of this whole, why we're going live. I just want to mention that red raspberry leaf, since it is so broad, that we have it in our cycle relief for menstrual cycles. We have it for our postpartum moms that are experiencing postpartum, and we have it in our breastfeeding support, let there be milk. And so I recognize how it's so essential to be a key principal herb in almost all of our formulas for women, because it's withstood the test of time for millennia. Okay, so now we can talk about alfalfa. Okay, so alfalfa is green and bright, smells just like grass. I don't know that much about it as much as I know about red raspberry leaf, but I will tell you this. Alfalfa is really uplifting, and it's high in vitamin A, C, D, E, and K. And vitamin K is what I'm really going to focus on. But it also has 8 enzymes, so it's going to be great for nausea and vomiting and digestive issues in pregnancy. And since it's full also of those vitamins, but it's also full of these minerals, calcium, magnesium, potassium, so that it's one of these uplifting and feeding and nutritive herbs. So particularly a person that's incredibly fatigued, it's just another way to get the vitamins and minerals that you need. And it's very easily absorbed. And so that's a big thing. So it doesn't really matter how much iron or vitamins or nutrients are in a substance. What really matters is how much you can absorb it. You can take supplements all day. If your body can't absorb it, then it doesn't really matter. You can have food all day, but then if your body can't absorb it, it doesn't really matter. That's the beauty of Lady in Waiting, is that it has nourishment, and then it has these nutritive herbs, then it has other herbs in it to help your body assimilate. And also these herbs are coming from a natural, they're in a natural form, and so they're biochemically easily for your body to absorb and utilize. And so alfalfa is fed to livestock. I mean, it looks like grass. It's just like grass. So you feed it to milking goats. You feed it to cows. Why do you feed it to milking goats and cows? So they can produce a bunch of offspring, healthy offspring, and they can make a bunch of milk for their babies, but really to sell to humans. So alfalfa is a nutritive herb, and it's going to really help increase your milk supply. Also, what I want to say about alfalfa is vitamin K. So vitamin K is really important postpartum. So vitamin K helps your body coagulate blood. And so when you've pushed out your placenta, and then those 2 cups of blood that follow, you want those 2 cups of blood to be able to form into blood clots. You don't want them to be in 2 blood clots that get caught up in there, but that's not, if you drink an amount of vitamin K that's in Lady in Waiting tea, an amount of alfalfa that's in Lady in Waiting tea mixed with other herbs, it'll support your body to help produce these blood clots so that you're not just be free bleeding. And so that's really important. So the red raspberry leaf is going to minimize the amount of blood, and then the alfalfa is going to consolidate it so that you're not just free bleeding. So these 2 herbs work together in your postpartum. And I feel like something is like, this is called lady in waiting pregnancy tea, and in my practice, in my midwifery practice, all these women drank it throughout their pregnancy and their labor and their birth and postpartum, but I don't necessarily know that the wide public knows that. And so that's why I'm doing these videos, is to encourage you to continue to drink the tea postpartum. I'm even thinking about changing the name. We call it pregnancy and postpartum tea, or pregnancy and breastfeeding tea, so that you know to do that. So I want to tell you a little bit about Lady in Waiting tea. And just real quick, I want to check in. Is there any questions or anything? Okay. I'm going to have a sip. And actually, before I tell you about the Lady in Waiting tea, I want to do this. This was what I really wanted to do anyways. I mentioned fatigue, right? And I also mentioned, if you're pregnant, you have two hearts. And one of these great ways to manage fatigue is to get the nourishment, is to get the hydration. That's a benefit of the tea, is it provides the nourishment, it provides the hydration. It also provides what I just did, that pause, that deep breath, that sip. And so learning skills like breathing techniques and connecting with your body and your baby and in your heart really helps you manage your stress, and so that you're not constantly pulled in every direction, peak and valleying all the time. You can find your center. And really, as a midwife, one thing I really want to teach and instill and inspire is to take the time every day to develop a self-care and a connection practice. And so I would like to do that with you right now. So we're just going to take a few minutes. And so you might be standing up like me. You might be sitting down or laying down. You might be in the car. If you're in the car, don't close your eyes. But if you're not driving, I encourage you to get comfortable and close your eyes. I'll even close my eyes. And feel your feet on the floor, or feel yourself resting on the chair or on the bed. Allow whatever surface to hold you, allow that surface to hold you as you sink into it. And bring your mind and your awareness to your breath. And slowly and deeply inhale and exhale. Breathing in and out. Softening and slowing your mind. Bring your attention to your feet. And we're going to slowly and progressively bring relaxation through our entire body. So our feet are relaxed. Breathing in and out. Feeling your ankles soften and open. Relaxing your calves, the backs of your legs. Softening your knees, your thighs. Breathing in and out, down into your pelvis and your hips. Breathing into and bringing awareness into all the organs and spaces of your pelvis. And if you are pregnant, placing your hands on your belly and breathing into your baby, connecting with your baby. And if you just gave birth, connecting to your womb and giving gratitude for your birth experience and for your baby. And for those of us that are not pregnant, we can still acknowledge our womb space and our uterus and our ovaries. And for those of us that don't have ovaries and uteruses, still breathe into your belly. Slowly and deeply. Breathe in and smile. Breathing in now and allowing that relaxation to move up your back, up your chest, out your shoulders, down your arms, down your elbows, your wrists, your fingers, your entire, both arms are relaxed and long and comfortable. Softening your neck and your jaw and your eyes and forehead, the top of your head, the back of your head. Taking a moment to hear the sounds of your environment. Taking a moment to smell the smells of your environment. Taking a moment to taste the taste in your mouth. And to feel. And now I encourage you to turn inward toward your heart. And you'll know you're in your heart space when you feel your heartbeat. And once you feel your heart beating, center into that space and give yourself a moment of gratitude and to your heart for beating for you and being there for you. And then also connect with your heart and ask for a wisdom, a message, a word, a phrase, an insight that your heart and that your body have for you right now. Maybe in reference to deep fatigue, maybe in reference to your pregnancy or your birth or your life. Just take a moment. And allow the first words, images, or phrases, symbols that come to you, allow those to be the right ones. Just trust that. And after you've heard the message from your heart, you can go ahead and open your eyes. Once your eyes are open, you can start to bring yourself back and become fully awake and energized, and yet still feel relaxed and centered. And I encourage you, if you were part of that, to give us a heart and share your heart. And also to share, if you feel comfortable sharing your heart word, what your message was in the comments. My message this time was really, it was just an unfolding and an opening. And I think my message really was trust the process. Trust the process. It looks like there might be a question.
Yes, Paula Hartgrave had a great question. Do herbal tea bags have an expiration, or how long does it last if stored properly?
That's actually a really good question that I'm dealing with right now, Paula. So, storing properly, that's so funny. Earlier today I was like, Kevin, I wonder if I should talk about storage. And I'll talk about it in the last video, but storing properly is a big deal. So storing properly means that it is in an airtight, light, tight container, that there's no moisture, and it didn't get extremely hot or extremely cold. So, for example, I have in my apothecary a bunch of jars that are glass. And there's a label on them, but they're glass, and they're in a dimly lit room, but they're still light. And so after some time, those herbs will turn, like they'll look bleached out. Whereas the herbs that were stored even in the other apothecary that I have that are closed tightly and in a complete pitch black space, and they're the same date, the one in the complete pitch black space will still be green and fresh and alive, and the one in the jar will go bad quicker. Also, so our tea tins. So we have all these tea tins that are sealed and this airtight. So they're, even though the expiration date, we had to put an extra expiration date of 3 years, but their expiration date is far longer than that. It just really depends on how you store them. Also, it also depends, really, it's not that these teas are going to go bad as long as there's no mold or no like insects have gotten into it or no mold has gotten into it. It's not that they're going to go bad and suddenly make you sick. It's just that they might not be as potent. So like if you had really fresh red raspberry leaf that you either drank fresh or that it was just freshly dried, and then red raspberry leaf from 5 years, they'll both have active constituents and they'll both be helpful, but the fresher one will be more potent and stronger. Yeah, thank you for that. Cool. Okay, so we need to wrap things up because I went well over time. I don't know how long I went over, but yeah. So I want to tell you about a couple of things. A few things I want to tell you about. One is this is the first of 4 lives that we're going to do. This, I just really wanted to highlight and lay the groundwork for fatigue. Next week we're going to talk about anemia, and then the next week we're going to talk more about like digestive issues, and then we're also going to talk more about, in the last one, more about how to make teas, how to store teas, recipes, or just a lot more about how to like have just a simple cup of tea, or also to make it almost like ceremonial and make it be a whole moment, and how to really bring in other elements to the tea. So we'll do this once a week, and so we'll meet next week at 12 also. Before you go, I have another thing that I really want to talk to you about. So I want to share with you about Lady in Waiting. And so Heaven will show you up close, but in just a second. But I really want to share with you a little bit about Lady in Waiting. Why I'm doing this is that I kind of want to just do the right thing, and I have these tea tins, and I need to get them to you. And you guys are fatigued, and I know what it's like when you're fatigued, and I know what it's like to be the midwife at the birth of these women. And so I really want to help the midwives out and help you out by getting you these teas. And I also have all these cute little baby hats that I had a mom, and her mom came, and she was super industrious, and she made all these baby hats. And I have almost like the equal number of tea tins and baby hats left. And so I wanted to get them to you, right? And so, but I also wanted to cover my costs, but really not make a profit off this. So this is really a gift, really it is. So, we are going to, so I'm putting this on sale, right? So it's going to be $5. It costs $4 to make this, so it's not about profit. You get the tea tin with it. And Heaven can show you the tea tin. Yeah? And also, so if you want this on Facebook, it's going to be real easy. You know, there'll be a link in the description. And we're going to share this later. And so on YouTube, there'll be a link in the description. But then on Instagram, it's a little bit harder. And I feel a little silly doing this. But at the same time, I really want you to know how to get it. And when you're on Instagram, you have to click around a few times. And so I wanted to make it as easy as possible and straightforward, because we can't put a direct link. And so this is what our profile looks like. And so, hey, follow us. And on our profile, there is a little link on the bottom. Let's see if it'll work for us. Hard for me to see at this angle. Oh, here it comes. And so then it leads you to some options, you know, the home, the blog, the herb shop, breastfeeding, postpartum, and children. So you would have to click around a few places to get to the pregnancy tea, so we made it easy. So the easiest way is to go to the home page, and this takes you directly to our website. And it's loading. We have like 3 computers and phones on the internet right now, so it's a little bit slow. Come on. Of course. There it is. Okay. So when you get to the website, when it loads, you'll see a banner right on top. It says Lady in Waiting. It costs $5 and you get your free baby hat. You could click that right there and it's going to take you directly to the cart. But if you want to know about it and read about its ingredients, then you scroll down and then you click here and then it'll load this product page, right? And then it'll have all the imagery and the baby hat and then there's a cute little video that we made about Lady in Waiting and a lot of just descriptions and what its benefits are. And we'll go through a lot more of this through the series. And then you can see the reviews on here. And so you can add it to your cart that way, or you can add it to your cart this way. The thing is, when you add it to your cart, see on mine, you just see the tea tin. That's because I've done it like 20 times and I've gotten too many free hats, so it won't let me get another free hat. But when you do it the first time, you'll see the tea tin and then you'll see the hat with it. But don't worry if you don't see the hat. We know we will give you the hat with the tea tin. And so then you just check out like that. I know, I just had to do that. I just had to show you. So there's so much more we can say. So we'll do it next week at noon. I want to thank all of you for being here. I'm really proud of you as women. I really just know, I may not know all of you individually, but I do know that you're doing your best. You're showing up in this world and we need you. We need you to show up and we need you to be fully nourished and full functioning because you're going to be mothers, you're going to be teachers, you're going to be inspiring people. And so I want to take a big, deep drink for you and remind you always walk in beauty, drink deep, and I'll see you next week.